Hello and welcome to a bonus video from MinnMax. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Jeff Marchiafava.
That's right.
And Ross Fund.
Hey, guys.
That's a made-up name, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Ross, you're an old friend of Brian Vors, for people who know the history of Game Informer.
Yeah, that's right. Brian and I went to journalism school together at the U of M, and so once he got that job at Game Informer, I kind of became an associate or acquaintance of everybody.
Yeah, and I've been meaning to ask you, what's the most embarrassing story you have about Brian Vors?
Wow. I'm going to have to think about that when I get back to you.
That's fine. But you are well known across the internet for writing reviews of every episode of Murder, She Wrote.
That's right, yeah. Going to have
Excellent.
a book out at some point.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Murder, She Wrote, He Wrote.
You just love Murder, She Wrote to this extent?
It's an amazing show. Have you ever watched it? Have you seen an episode?
I think, like all of us, we've all probably accidentally at some point watched an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
You saw it at your grandma and grandpa's on Sunday night after 60 minutes?
Literally, yes.
So your passions in life are Murder, She Wrote and Star Wars.
Yes.
That is a very specific cup of tea, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
They've never crossed over, but I'm still hoping.
Mandalorian, She Wrote.
Yeah.
Also, you were on an episode of Judge John Hodgman, the podcast.
That's right. Last fall, my wife and I were on an episode to determine the fate of the 100-plus-year-old grapevine that grows on the back of our house, which attracts a lot of raccoons and results in a lot of raccoon poop around our property.
It's a very serious issue, but it warmed my heart that within like the first 15 minutes of that episode, you made John Hodgman laugh. I was like, that's it, man.
Yeah.
What a badge of
Started
honor.
real strong and just tried to hang on from that point on.
Ride that crazy train. Okay, so you seem like a perfect person to bring in to talk about The Mandalorian. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to listen to an audio version, you can support our Patreon. MinnMax is a Patreon, patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. If you support us at the $5 level, then you get access to the red hot audio feed.
That's right.
So you
we'll
don't
do
need to leave
ASMR stuff for you.
Hey man, whatever you want.
That's right.
But Mandalorian, Disney Plus just launched. I guess kind of sort of late last night. The hardcore stayed up. When did you watch the Mandalorian episode here?
I watched it about 2 hours ago.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Just saw it at 7 p.m. tonight.
So this is fresh in your mind.
Yep.
Did you know out of the gate, just with your Star Wars fandom, that like, all right, I have to get Disney Plus here?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there was no question. Once the Mandalorian was going to be on it, and Jon Favreau, he's great. Dave Filoni, who directed this first episode, is the number one Star Wars guy right now. So,
in your mind, is that true? Like, he gets it more than anybody else.
Yep, he's basically George Lucas's understudy, and he was like the showrunner of the Clone Wars and Rebels animated series, both of which were amazing. So he's, I think he's kind of trying to move into live action a little bit.
How is Resistance? I haven't heard one word about that show since it aired. I know people love Rebels.
I don't think anybody's watching it other than me, obviously. But it's okay. It's the exciting part is that it's in like the episode 7 through 9 era timeline.
Right.
So you're kind of seeing things, but it's a good-looking show, but it just doesn't do a ton with what it has. It's a little unambitious.
Yeah.
So it's if you need a Star Wars fix, it's okay for that, but it's not. It hasn't reached the heights of Rebels or Clone Wars.
Right. Yeah. The crazy thing about Dave Filoni directing the first episode here for The Mandalorian is just what it means for the overall structure of the show, because they have some wild directors lined up. They have Taika Waititi directing episode 8, which I guess is going to be the final episode of The Mandalorian. And then I forgot about this one, looking up, Bryce Dallas Howard is directing the 4th episode of The Mandalorian. And I really want to know, with a show like this, how much variety and tone can there really be? Because getting out of the gate, it seems to be trying to set a cool, subtle Western tone. And I can't imagine it shifting too much from that.
I can't imagine it will either, but and I'm not sure if Favreau is writing all of the episodes like he wrote this one tonight. But if it is, I mean, you would have to imagine the tone is going to be pretty similar throughout the whole series.
Yeah. All right. So you're Star Wars fan number one. You won't accept any other label. I love Star Wars, but I'm eager always to learn more, right? I consider myself the upper tier, but there's a ton of stuff I don't know. Jeffem, where is your Star Wars fandom level at these days?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a big Star Wars fan. I got a little bit of Star Wars overload. I still see pretty much everything. I haven't seen all of Rebels or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, my excitement level has dipped on some things, but when I finally do watch it, I still enjoy everything.
Yeah.
Like the Han Solo movie was the first one where it's like, I'm not going to see that in the theaters. It came out on Netflix, and I still didn't see it for like a week.
But then, so damning.
I know. But then when my wife and I watched it, I was like, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I probably liked that more than Rogue One, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that Lord and Miller got canned off of that
Right, that
movie.
classic
I
thing.
think it would have been amazing if they had been on it throughout the whole process. But
You never
Ron Howard
know.
did a decent job.
Yeah, he made it cross the finish line, which I guess counts for something. But Jeff, it made me laugh because we started watching The Mandalorian together earlier,
Yes.
holding hands, eating popcorn as per usual. And you're like, when does this take place? And I was like, it's after Return of the Jedi. And you're like, okay. And then you're silent until about halfway through the episode when Nick Nolte alien's like, you gotta ride the blurg. You gotta ride the blurg. And the blurg is like jumping over the cracks and stuff. And then Jeffem goes, I don't get it. Doesn't Boba Fett have like a jetpack? What does he need this for?
Yeah.
I was like,
no.
oh no, you idiot. You thought that was Boba Fett?
Well, because I hadn't, and I still have it's a weird thing, but I never watch any of the trailers or anything, and
Okay.
and I hadn't really read it. I'm afraid of spoilers for things that I'm not completely committed to watching, which is insane.
Yeah.
But so I hadn't really heard much about the Mandalorian going into it or
Right,
anything.
right.
And so I assumed it was going to be.
Yeah, and then you see that
Until that
armor and you're
moment, I was
like,
like,
that's Boba Fett.
What do you think he,
he
like-
got out of the Sarlacc.
Yeah, and it like changed the color when he was in the Sarlacc pit.
And that was another thing where I was thinking that during the episode where I was like, wait a minute, shouldn't he be being digested right now? But then didn't they retcon it where he flew out and
in the
like-
books, but then that was scrapped, right?
Yeah,
And so,
once the
which
Disney
I
thing
didn't know
happened,
which
they
was
kinda
canon,
started
and,
over,
and
yeah.
at that point, I was like, whatever, I'll just
That's
go along with it.
hilarious.
Until I was like, wait a minute, but if he did fly out, he should have a rocket
wait a
pack.
minute, Boba
Yes.
knows how to ride a blurg. This doesn't make sense at all.
Issue
So that's-
217 of the old Marvel comic showed Boba Fett learning his blurg skills. Speaking of the blurgs,
Yeah.
you guys, did you ever see the previous live-action television Star Wars project, Ewoks Battle for Endor?
No, I thought you're going holiday special.
That's what I was.
That came before the Ewoks. 2 made-for-TV Ewoks movies came out after Return of the Jedi. They were the last previous live-action Star Wars thing.
Oh, really?
And they're pretty outrageous. But that's where the blurg comes from.
Oh,
so they
really?
it's a real deep cut. They actually grabbed some stuff from the holiday special as well, some references.
Well, they got
in
like the
Mandalorian, Life Day,
weapon
yeah.
for the Mandalorian, and then obviously the little alien guy references Life Day, which is fun. And then I even thought at some point the Nick Nolte alien creature, he said like, "Oh, your ancestors rode the great mythosaur." And I'm like, "Oh, I bet that was that thing from the holiday special too, the animated thing." Looked it up. No, that is something else.
Oh,
entirely,
really? Totally
apparently.
different?
Yeah.
I assume the same thing. I'm not an expert on the holiday special because you can only watch it once and then,
It's
that's
not.
it.
It's not a fun, dumb thing to watch. It's just a slow, excruciatingly painful,
Bad, dumb thing to watch. Yeah.
High level. What'd you think of The Mandalorian, the first episode?
I got pretty into it. Full disclosure, I was on board as soon as that dude played the flute to call the taxi cabs. I was like, this is what I like out of my Star Wars.
And then you see Brian
Flute playing.
Posehn actually driving the
Yes.
taxi cab.
Yeah, that was him, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That was great. And from then on, I was on board. The Mandalorian stuff is okay. There's a lot of Mandalorian kind of backstory in Clone Wars and Rebels, so you get kind of an idea of their culture with that armor and the special Beskar steel.
Not to put you completely on the spot
Yeah.
for this stuff, but I am curious about just the state of Mandalorians in the universe, because that's where I get hazy, where it's like, all right, I remember them from like KOTOR, and I don't know exactly what the state of Mandalore is, because I know what's her name from Rebels, which I know will get me lit up on the internet. But like, I remember like, okay, she was touching on
Sabine.
things a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But like, what is the current state of Mandalore?
The last we saw was a storyline in the final season of Rebels where Sabine goes and basically inspires the Mandalorians to rise up against the Empire, which had kind of had them under its thumb as they do with everybody, I guess. So,
and they're just great at fighting, just a warrior race.
Yeah, they're kind of like
idea.
a warrior race, warrior planet people. The interesting thing in the Clone Wars was that they had become like a pacifistic society, and it was Jon Favreau's character that he voiced who was leading like the terrorist sect of the Mandalorians. So he goes way back with the concept.
That's really weird. But then he was also a voice in Solo as well, right?
Yeah.
That's so confusing. So Jon Favreau wrote this. He's the overall showrunner for Mandalorian. And I was trying to remember his TV experience because I forgot that he directed the pilot for Orville. Like, wow. The bizarre, creator of Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane show. But then also, this one blew my mind. He also directed the pilot for Young Sheldon on CBS.
So he's the guy you bring in when you got a real hot pilot you need.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
A hotshot pilot. Let's get this guy. Yeah. And then he didn't end up directing this one. The writing for this, I think I was bracing for it to be worse. I saw some people really bashing it on Twitter. Overall, it seemed fine to me, except for the line where they get in off the into the ship for the first time after the ice monster breaks out and attacks them, and just that stupid alien, he goes, "Stay off the ice." That's the understatement of the millennium. It's like, oh, that's right, just lame sci-fi writing where you have to insert millennium in there. Okay.
Yeah, kind of a clunker there. I appreciated how like they didn't overdo it with the dialogue.
It's pretty
not
subtle.
Everything is over-explained. I was kind of wondering going in if the Mandalorian would be kind of a no-talking type of dude.
Right.
Or like Boba Fett where he's just like, I'm saying one thing and that's it.
It seems like they're kind of going for that Boba Fett model if he actually had to sustain an entire episode. But that's the thing, too. I was surprised when he talked so early in the show.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, he's just going to be the cool as a cucumber guy. And then they flipped it a little bit, where when he's dealing with apparently not IG-88, apparently it's IG-11. It's a different IG unit. I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't think IG-88 was a New Zealander, so they had to bring in IG-11 for Taika's voice.
Oh, was that
Yeah,
Taika?
that was,
Oh, I didn't catch it at all. Anyways, but then like the flip of having the Mandalorian then be like, oh, I need a new plan. And he was like frantic and almost panicked as he was trying to fight these soldiers off. It's like, that's weird to have your guy that's so cool. You get to see, it's a little bit of that Breaking Bad thing. Like Walter White is a scary figure. Then every once in a while you get to see him panicked and be like, oh crap, everything's falling apart. It's like, it kind of undercuts his cool sincerity the entire time.
I kind of like it to just having the cool guy be like super competent and able to accomplish anything he wants without having any trouble.
Right. But then he's still panicked, so just to show that maybe at some point in the pilot they want to establish that he's still a human being. He can still...
Yeah, I think it will be a hard sell if throughout the entire series arc it's kind of just the no personality, I get the job done kind of guy. Yep. So I did appreciate that moment and what they're kind of teasing at the end where it's like, okay, like what are we actually going to learn about this as him as a person?
Yeah, and do you guys think that we've seen the end of IG-11 or because the self-destruct thing was so set up that I feel like he's eventually got to self-destruct at some point, right?
Oh, you think? Or just
So he
teasing
got
that like
shot in
that's
the
the
head.
only way he can ultimately die?
No,
you think?
it's just such a setup that I feel like there's got to be
Right.
that payoff of him eventually coming back and self-destructing because he was
That'd be interesting.
He was so excited to do it.
Yeah, that's true. And if he's directing the final episode, maybe that'd be the episode where he then crawls back, which was awesome to just see like IG-88 just standing there in the background, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly to see another IG droid actually on the battlefield, and just like that's a movement I've never seen in any medium. Just the idea of so much spinning around to look and to shoot. But then it's funny every time they just do like a wide shot and just show like he's just standing in one spot.
Skinny
He's a dummy,
action figure looking guy.
But they still can't hit him. Like he's not dodging any. He's just standing in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and side note, I loved how that complex was just like an old West town. Like, just walking down Main Street there and getting in the shootout.
Right. But going back to the idea of Mandalorian having personality, they try and seed it a little bit early on, like, oh, you were an orphan, weren't you? He's like, oh, don't you forget, I got a heart of gold. And then later on, obviously, with the big reveal, like, he's going to have this sensitive side. He's going to be a little bit more of a softie. And imagine that's going to be a big thrust of the show is him, I don't know, just rooting for orphans more and more?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of wondering, is it going to turn into like a lone wolf and cub thing?
I think that's probably
where
what they're going
he's
for.
the gunslinger, the Ronin walking around, and he's got the baby with him protecting it. Baby Yoda, which is crazy.
So, yes, something that I still love about Star Wars is, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've never said the Yoda race, right?
No, nothing more than having like the Lady Yoda on the Jedi Council, which was kind of weird. But other than that, my understanding was that it was always kind of a George Lucas thing where he was like, yeah, don't go into any Yoda stuff. Just we want to keep him
not into the Yoda stuff.
Yeah.
Which is surprising. And like, I know there were spoilers flying out there and everyone was worried about this getting out and stuff, but I didn't know it was coming. Did you know it was coming at all?
No, I had no idea.
And I think that's a really fun twist of like, okay, we only know the target's age.
Yeah.
It's 50 years old. And then for that twist to lead into, and also it's a baby Yoda.
Yeah, a very cute baby Yoda.
A little freaky looking, but yeah. So what do you think? Do you think they're going to use this show to talk more about the race, or do you think they're going to keep it the same level of mystery? It'll just be, hey, we have one more of these Yaddle MFers roaming around now.
It's a good question. Obviously, that doctor guy that's hanging out with Werner Herzog wants to study the baby Yoda. So,
hang on, is Star Wars dumb? Okay, no, I just had a panic. Okay,
yeah, very.
I see.
So clearly in universe, in the storytelling, the species is very rare and interesting as well.
Okay, Jeffem, do you want to make a bet? At some point in The Mandalorian, will Baby Yoda creature use the Force to take off the Mandalorian's helmet? Is that how that's happening? Because I bet it is. Because at some point, he's going to be in trouble or something's going to happen and it's going to reveal that, oh my gosh, little baby can do what?
Yeah, I don't know if it will be taking off his helmet, but that's definitely coming. He's going to be like crushed under something.
Yeah.
And little baby's going to see that he's in trouble and be like,
Okay,
Yes.
so you're going with the lifting rock theory.
yeah.
Okay.
Something like that. A big heavy machine's going to fall on him.
And do you think it's also inevitable that at some point, especially with the setup in this episode, they're like, oh, Mandalorians will take off their helmets. So at some point, he's going to take off his helmet?
I would imagine so. I was assuming he was going to be taking it off for make-out purposes and not
interesting.
Baby Yoda purposes. But who knows?
Yeah, okay. He's going to unfreeze the freaky blue guy from Carbonite and just have a make-out session with that guy.
Yeah.
We're watching it with Serial, and he commented on that idea that like, apparently you can just freeze anybody in Carbonite, and like that tech is just like shrunk down. Now you can just have it on a ship. It's like that was a whole contraption. That was a big deal before.
Not that long ago.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it worked so well for Jabba, for Han Solo, that he probably told all his friends about it and just became the industry standard,
Yeah, and it was like
platform and
really
everything.
dicey with Solo too. Like
Yeah.
no one
They're
knew,
like, will he survive?
And now it's
You're
just
right.
like, I'm going to throw whatever alien into this thing and it's probably going to be fine.
You're totally right, because the whole idea, correct me if I'm wrong, is like it wasn't made for human beings, right?
Yeah.
So, but now it's just like, well, that's what the one cool guy did, and he's gone now. I like the way it sets up like the fall of the Empire, just in subtle little ways of like, oh, you think that currency's good anymore? Like your Imperial coins aren't good. Just little nods like that, or even like stormtroopers that look all cracked and messed up and kind of
their armor's in bad shape.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Werner Herzog's Empire insignia medal that he was holding. It was like a gold medal.
Oh,
like
I didn't see
he won
that.
the gold medal for being best, Empire or something or other.
So you think he's still aligned with that? And so when he's talking about like, what's his line about like let the past die, essentially? No, and he just says like, okay, we need to like that era of chaos is over. We got to end it.
Yeah.
So do you think he's still kind of aligned with the Empire, and so he's trying to get rid of this Force user, and that's why he wants to end it?
I think the Empire at this point is probably all kaput from, it's not centralized anymore. So people of his stature, he was probably like a general or a governor or something like that, probably are just carving out their own little areas of influence, and they still have like soldiers that are loyal to them, but like, I don't think they're any different than just like a crime lord at this point.
So you think the Doctor wants... Because how was the disagreement again? I'm trying to remember. The Doctor wants the Yoda thing alive.
Yeah.
And Werner was like, hey, I'm just being practical. You can bring him alive or dead.
Right.
And
so
the
I guess,
Doctor's like, what?
So, okay, so he wants to study it, and then Werner is like, whatever?
Yeah.
Study it or just get rid of it if you have to.
Yep.
Right.
Right. Right. I guess so. Let's see. The puck things.
Yeah.
Is that established in Star Wars lore? I was very confused about. Are they saying pucks? What are these?
I think they're calling them pucks. Yeah. I don't think it's ever had a name, but like I think I've seen it before in some stuff where that's like your proof of bounty or whatever. You're like, see, I'm a bounty hunter and I'm officially on the case. I've got the puck.
And it contains info in some way of like where they are?
Or maybe just a nice picture of them, and that's it.
Right, that's all you need. The weird scene with the Lady Mandalorian melting down the credits to make the shoulder crest.
Yeah.
What's happening there?
So it wasn't credits. That was his armor. They call it the Beskar steel. So that's what he is getting paid for.
Okay.
Or that's what he's getting paid in for this job for Werner Herzog, which is why he took it, I think.
By the way, bold lore choice just to call the character Werner Herzog. But it's a good Star Wars name, so
yeah,
it
totally works.
Yeah.
By the way, did you guys also see that Werner was quoted as saying he's never seen a Star Wars movie before, but he does occasionally watch WrestleMania?
I saw that.
I was like, this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that during E3 this year in June, I got to go to a Simpsons table read, and Werner Herzog was the special guest.
Come on.
Yeah, so I got to meet him, and I have upstairs a signed Simpsons script by Werner Herzog. It's like, that is the most cherished item in the world. It's just the best. So we're pretty tight.
Yes.
He talked a lot about it behind the scenes.
Yeah, you're the only person who could ever get him to watch a Star Wars.
But that's amazing. And I saw somebody have the hot take on Twitter, too, of like, we think it's really cool that Werner Herzog says he doesn't know who Jon Favreau is. He had never seen any of his movies, and that he doesn't know Star Wars that well, and that he watches WrestleMania and watches like the Kardashians and stuff. He also said that interview. But it's like, if that was any other director, people would light them up. So somebody said, like, if that was Zack Snyder, and he said, like, I only watch WrestleMania, people would be like, this is embarrassing. But because Werner is such an interesting taste, then it's like, he sees something in WrestleMania that we don't.
He knows what he can get away with.
That's right.
But yeah, so you've got the armor, the special armor, which is like has cultural significance to the Mandalorians. So that's probably why he was so eager to get at it. And obviously, the armor that he's currently wearing is not made out of that special material.
I see.
Which the goons at the beginning in the bar kind of make fun of him for.
Right.
So it's obviously like a motivating factor for him to like get this special steel and make himself like a full authentic suit of Mandalorian armor.
So that's just like one chunk of the armor. He's slowly going to try and replace
got the shoulder
everything.
thing now. Yeah. So presumably if he finishes this job and gets paid in that armor, he'll make the rest of his suit of armor. Yeah.
I thought she had a really cool design. Yeah. Like seeing that twist on. I mean, not watching all of Rebels, I don't know if they show a lot of different Mandalorian armor designs, but it looked like, and obviously it's very inspired by it, but it looked like something from like Destiny: Rise of Iron, like that specific expansion or something like that, where it's like it's such a cool twist on the stock, Mandalorian look.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool, little tweaks they can make in the design, so that it's not just a repeated Boba Fett thing over and over again.
Yeah, Jeff, and what was your favorite part?
I mean, I guess it sounds lame, but I thought the action was all very well done.
Yeah.
Even like the first little fight in the bar when he pulls that guy halfway through the door and then malfunctions it to cut him in half.
Well, because Disney Plus, they have to cut away, of course. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Don't.
We can't see that. But I think beyond that, I like the parts where they are just doing new stuff. And I think conversely, the parts that drag on me are when it just feels so familiar. It's that hard tightrope walk of like fan service of the things that people expect to see in Star Warsy stuff, but just like the opening of like, okay, well, of course he's going into a bar that's like a cantina. Of course there are a bunch of different weird-looking aliens, and there are a couple who are going to be bullies, and they're picking on another alien.
Over-the-top bullies.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just that familiar stuff of like, I've seen this so many times, like show me new stuff, show me interesting twists on it. And so when you do get a little personality in him, it's like, okay, that's different. That's not what I was expecting from Boba Fett, even though it's not Boba Fett. Or, like the Baby Yoda, like, where is this weird relationship going to go? Like, that's the more interesting stuff to me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not only do we get the opening cantina bar scene, but then there's also the second cantina where Carl Weathers is sitting, right? And so it's like, it's really two for the price of one here in the first episode.
Yeah, really hope we get to see Carl Weathers in action in this show.
Ooh.
I hope he's not just cantina sitting.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. It was weird that it's like a 40-minute episode, or like just under 40. I think I'm so used to the hour-long structure here, maybe just Game of Thrones and being really into Watchmen now, that it's like, oh, this is a different flavor. I got to get used to this rhythm here. Okay.
I wonder how much variation there will be in length, because there's obviously no set length that they have to abide by on the streaming service. So I could see, maybe this episode will be on the shorter side. But maybe it won't. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Predictions of where this whole thing's going?
I'm really curious. Do you guys think this is going to be like super serialized in that he's got the Baby Yoda now, and it's just going to be Baby Yoda storyline from this point on? Or do you think it'll be more episodic, where that's like a season-long story, but in the meantime, he'll be taking other bounties and, like a bounty of the week or something like that?
I think it's probably going to be a little bit bounty of the week, but I think he'll always have little Baby Yoda. I think you can't make a modern TV show, especially one, for a streaming service, and not understand that people are going to want to binge this and make it one long continuous story here.
Yeah. Is he going to have Baby Yoda strapped on his back at all times?
Yeah, where can he put Baby Yoda? Maybe he can put it in the
like a Luke backpack situation, like on Dagobah.
Or like when he's on the ship, he can store it in that toilet.
Yeah, that's the other thing. First ever toilet on screen in Star Wars.
That's really stunning.
A real exciting moment for me.
The vac tube is what we've been looking for this entire time, ladies and gentlemen. It's called the vac tube.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. I could only hear back tube, which
really? I thought I heard that too.
That's a very weird metaphor for butt.
Yeah, exactly. Gonna shove this tube up my asshole. This is how everything's been happening in the Star Wars universe. It's just absurd. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Did you have any of those moments of like looking a little bit cheap? This is made for TV.
It was looking better than I expected. Actually, I thought it. Especially when you have him riding the blurg and stuff, all that stuff looked pretty good to me.
The close-ups of the blurg.
There wasn't a lot of like Anakin surfing on the Naboo tick creature stuff, which is pretty rough in this day and age.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think like it's weird. The weakest part to me was like, the taxi speeders pulling up. Like that CG was like, oh boy. But then I thought all the alien effects, like digital and practical, I thought they all looked awesome. So I was like, I don't know what to believe now. Also, I thought Salacious Crumb being roasted alive on that fire was
pretty cruel, with the other one watching and being like, oh no.
Yeah, what is
It's
that?
a lot like the Porg gag in episode 8, where that one Porg is like, I can't believe you're eating my brother or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I mean, do you think there's going to be fan debates online about whether that was actually the Salacious Crumb?
Wait, I think the Salacious Crumb got blown up.
Is that right?
Return of the Jedi, yeah.
I guess you're
right. I don't
right.
think there were any survivors.
There were no survivors. Exciting. Any other thoughts about Mandalorian we should get out there? Jeffem, will you keep watching this show?
Yeah.
You will?
Yeah. I again, another one where I wasn't really expecting or excited to go into it, but I enjoyed, the entire episode.
Right.
It's just the don't make it too Star Warsy, fan service kind of stuff. But when it's looking at new stuff and kind of introducing new ideas, that's when I'm in for it.
Yeah. Do you think at the end of this year there will be a large part of the Star Wars fan base that says Mandalorian is secretly the coolest thing, Episode 9 blew it?
I'm sure it will appeal to a lot of people who like the Western feel of the Episode 4 Cantina stuff and Tatooine stuff. That was, that's one of the main genre influences of the original movie. So for people who grew up on that, and that is the main genre they like in Star Wars, I think it'll really appeal strongly to them.
Yeah,
because I don't think there's going to be a lot of Western type stuff in Episode 9.
That's horses.
Yeah, that's
on
true.
On a Star Destroyer, so
I stand corrected.
Did you see that news, or maybe you see it yourself, that there's a new version of New Hope that's technically streaming.
Yeah, so
This
George
is very
Lucas
specific, Jeff.
couldn't help himself and change the Han Solo Greedo scene one last time before he turned everything over to Disney. And I think he did it just to get people riled up.
What other reason would there be? So what he did, Jeffem, is apparently the theory is that this was like making the 4K version of A New Hope just in case they made the 3D re-release someday.
Yep.
That he tweaked an edit in A New Hope, but it hasn't been seen because it was never re-released until this is now the next re-release is the Disney Plus version of A New Hope. And what he did is he took the scene that's so hotly debated and just added one thing, which is a stupid close-up of Greedo saying one word that's not subtitled, and then it's still the same shot, the same timing.
Yeah.
The same new timing?
No. It's like
Or the
same,
old-
it's
the
the
classic
special
timing.
Yeah. No, it's still
So it's
identical
Greedo
to
shoots
like
first,
the
Yes.
Blu-ray version,
Right.
which has Greedo shooting first. Except
now
he
they
added
added a
Greedo
word.
like saying a nonsense word or like a
It's
word
an
in
insult.
hot. Okay.
Because like, people have found out, this is so nerdy, but that's the point of this stuff, is people find out that it's like an insult that Sebulba says in episode 1, where it's
nice.
kind of like, you
Is it
idiot, or how
Slimo?
dare you. It's something, hang on. let's
Something
look
like
this
that.
up.
Poodoo, maybe?
It's not Poodoo. I would
Okay.
remember that one.
All right.
Remember
Greedo,
Poodoo, of
new
course.
line in New Hope. It's, okay. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Good.
You got to do it in his voice, though.
All right, because it sounds a little bit like McClunkly.
I love it. George Lucas is like a huge troll. So like,
Do you
he
think?
Clearly, I think 100%, I'm certain he's just doing it to cause a ruckus.
Isn't it crazy, though, that he changed one shot?
Yeah. Like he used to walk around wearing Han Shot First t-shirts. Like
Really?
Yeah, like fan made and sold t-shirts, and he just wear just to like poke people.
That's absurd.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, hey, The Mandalorian, everybody. You
Yep.
said there's going to be a new episode on Friday?
Yeah, Friday, and then Fridays here on out through the end of the year, I think. And
I think
so-
it ends, I could be wrong on this. I think it ends right before the release of episode 9.
cool.
They have it timed that way, which is
Yeah.
cool.
So I have one pie in the sky prediction
Oh, yes,
that
please.
I'm going to make. So in Clone Wars and Rebels, there was a important Mandalorian character played by Katie Sackhoff from Battlestar Galactica, et cetera, et cetera. The character looks basically exactly like her, and there's no reason why she wouldn't be around still at this
Oh,
point.
interesting.
So I'm wondering if by the end of the season she shows up.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think by the end of the season they'll settle Boba Fett's fate? Like, what better place to do it than a show that's just fan service for Boba Fett fans?
I mean, he's got to get brought up at some point because I think it's still unclear whether he's actually Mandalorian. Like,
Really? I think
'cause it would
he's
have to-
not, right?
Yeah, because it would have to be like, I guess people don't know if Jango Fett is Mandalorian because Boba's the clone of Jango and was just
Right.
raised by him to be a bounty hunter.
Right.
So, yeah. So I'm sure they'll be discussed at some point because, if you're talking Mandalorians and bounty hunting, it's, somebody's going to have to make a Boba Fett comment.
You're right. So at some point, if they go to the planet, there might be a reference to Django or Boba or something, and then that'll be it. And then they'll keep that heat for season 2.
Yeah.
It's probably the most likely thing of like, is Boba going to make a return and say,
They have to do it for all the viewers like me who didn't know it was Boba this whole time.
well, you can just.
They'll say, what have I been watching this
I
whole
should
time?
never have told you that wasn't Boba Fett. You could have just left thinking that was Boba Fett the
Yeah.
That's a
entire
good
time.
point, though. There should literally be characters who are like, "Hey, are you Boba Fett?" Because I don't know.
That is true.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Ross, do you have a Twitter account to share with people?
Yeah. Follow me at Are You Bad Enough on Twitter. Hashtag Nintendo Fun Club. We play a lot of classic NES games. So
Hell yeah.
yeah.
And you also are obsessed with Rambo.
Rambo animated only though. It's the best cartoon of all time, including the Star Wars cartoons.
Wow,
Yeah.
sacrilegious. Jeffem, what do you have to plug?
MinnMax.
Oh, neat. What is
Yep.
that?
It's our Patreon for all the video game videos. These videos now. Are we doing more of these?
I want to do more Max spoilers in the future for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Streams every Tuesday, all kinds of things.
You got it. You can go to patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. Check it out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. From in-depth game club discussions with the community to live streams every single week, weekly podcasts, exclusive videos, everything under the sun is at patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. Check it out, everybody.